David here with Figboot on Pens, back again with another fountain pen review that I have been waiting for quite some time in order to share with you. One of the great things about going to pen shows, especially one like the DC show, is making new discoveries. And one of my favorite new discoveries this past year was a pen by a company called Arclayer. This is Yash. He is based out of India and creates some high-quality 3D printed pens at reasonable prices. Whenever I'm at a show, I will typically have something I consider to be cool on me, so that when I meet friends, I have something interesting to share. During this past DC show, I carried around the pen from Arclayer, and I will be showing that pen here to you in a minute. And it comes in a very cool container as well. The basic concept behind the design of this pen has been done by several other companies, but it was the first time I had seen it accomplished to this level of quality. The reason I hadn't shared this pen earlier was because they sold out very quickly. They were very popular at the show, and they also sold out online. The company decided to have a full launch of the pen via Kickstarter, so I wanted to feature this pen when it was actually possible to obtain one. Okay. In order to check out what I feel is a very cool offering for a very reasonable price, please join me over here at camera 2. Okay, to begin with, this pen comes in a very cool 3D printed box. This is, well, call it a case. It does have a QR code to get some information about the pen, but you go ahead and twist it, and you twist it and you can push it shut. And I mean, it really is like a little fidget toy. I know it makes a little bit of noise when we do this, but it's one of those things that it is, most boxes you end up throwing away, but this one, I'm just going to leave it on my desk because it's a very cool fidget toy. But once you actually take it off, you have a pen. And here is the Ark Layer Maze. Now, there are many different types of 3D printing. For this pen, they use industrial-grade MSLA printers, which use liquid resin and an LED array and an LED screen to create a very high-quality printing. Here's a batch coming out of the printer. This pen is available in 5 different patterns. From top to bottom, there is the twist, which is in red there. Below that, there is the swirl in what they call it clear, but it kind of looks like an antique glass color. And then in green, there is the coil. And after that is the Morris in red, which has a pattern of dots and dashes. And finally at the bottom there is the DNA, which again has that antique glass look. There's actually 2 different models, the Maze and the Maze Pro. This is the Maze right here, and then the Maze Pro actually has a Japanese eyedropper system. And I'll show you later what a Japanese eyedropper system is. The Mazes are available in those 5 different varieties that I showed you, and then the Maze Pro are available in the Morris, the Swirl, and the Coil. And then both of these are available in in all of the colors, the red, the blue, the green, and then the clear. And this is what they categorize as the clear. Now, 3D printing has come a long ways. In some of the other 3D printed pens, you could really see the layers built up, but you could really see here on this pen, you really don't see those layers. I mean, if you told me that this was 3D printed, I mean, I knew that the only way to accomplish in here is 3D printing, but as far as the rest of the pen goes, as far as the cap and things like that, I would never have thought that they were 3D printed right off the bat. It's just very high quality. And you can see here on the inside, the only way to really do that is through 3D printing. And then it just kind of creates a nice optical illusion. As you twist it down, it just looks like everything is twisting. And so this is an eyedropper. And what's going to happen is later on, we're going to fill this up and you'll see the ink go in here. And then this is the ink chamber. And so it just creates an interesting look for this pen. So to start off with, let's go ahead and take a look at the parts and features of this pen. The top of the cap is flat. And then we do have the clip here, and the clip does have a bit of bend to it so that it does fit in materials of varying thicknesses. And I like that it's kind of a non-standard clip. What I mean by that is it just doesn't look generic. like a clip that you might see on 100 other pens. And then the cap actually just angles up until it straightens out about this portion. And then there is a slight gap where you can see it's a gap, but it's really minimal to the barrel, which is straight until about this portion, when then it angles down. And then at the end of the pen, there is that end here. Now on this particular pen, since this is we'll call it just the standard model, this just unscrews, but then for the Japanese eyedropper version, this would actually be the eyedropper. You know what, since we're mentioning that, I just wanted to give you an example. This is an Opus 88, and this pen has that Japanese eyedropper filler to where what happens is you actually unscrew it here, and then you go ahead and eyedropper the pen there, and you can see that piston in there. And then when it is sealed, then it actually seals the chamber between the larger ink chamber and the section. And then you unscrew the end here and pull that back and just crack it just a little bit in order to let the ink flow into the barrel. And then either if you have an extended writing session, you could leave it open so that it flows freely, or just every once in a while you crack it so that you can get some more ink into the section. And that's essentially what it's going to look like in this particular pen. Another thing I like about this clip is it is black, which kind of matches the black trim of this pen as well. And let's go ahead and take off the cap, and you can see here that we do have a black Jowo number 6 nib, which is nice. And it does have a plastic feed. The section is 3D printed as well, but like I said, I wouldn't have felt it was 3D printed. It does start with a slight flare and then angles up at a steady rate of incline until you have the cap threads, and then a bit of a rounded step up to the remainder of the barrel. This section is a decent length so that it's going to accommodate a wide variety of grip styles. Even if you grip it a little bit further back, it's not going to be uncomfortable with this transition here. I find that's fine. And then the pen is plenty long enough to use unposted. It really does not post. It doesn't post at all, which is fine because with this particular pen, you really want to see what's going on here. And then you can, if you see here that you unscrew it, and there's already a bit of silicone grease on there, and then this is where you fill up the pen. And you can see that there's an O-ring here. So, you know what? Let's go ahead and ink up this pen, and then we'll show some measurements and some size comparisons and then a writing sample. But let's go ahead and ink this pen up so you can see what it looks like. Now, something that's neat is that every single one of these pens is going to come with a bottle of ink, and it's going to be one of the endless bottles. This is from one of their Alchemy series. I think you get to choose between 12 different colors. This is their Candy C, which you'll see is a really nice blue. But let's go ahead. You could use an eyedropper, but I'm just going to use this syringe to try to control it a little bit. And let's see what this looks like. Okay, I am trying to not make a mess and kind of get, you can see I kind of am getting the syringe in here because I wanted to, it fills up one way and then it comes right on back, which is kind of cool. And let's not overfill it. And we'll get the rest of it in there. And then let's go ahead and seal this up, and there. Now we have a pen full of ink, which is kind of cool. Let's go ahead and set this aside so we don't have any incidents. And as the ink is making its way to the nib, let's go ahead and just do some size comparisons. I wanted to show it to you with some other 3D printed pens. This was an older pen from Additive Pens, and you can see here that this one had an issue with staining. I haven't used it in a while, but it looked really nice when ink was in here, but as you can see, it stained. And I'm not sure if Additive is still making pens or not, but this particular one had an issue with staining. And then this is another pen. This is from Hex Pens, and this is called the DNA Lucent. And I'll say this is very similar to what we're seeing here with the Ark Layer, with the high quality printing. And then it has this one is more of like the DNA design. This is one that I purchased on my own, and eventually I need to get around to reviewing it, but I will be reviewing that one in the future. And then finally here is a different 3D printed pen. This one is, you could tell it has was the different type of 3D printing where you can kind of see the different layers as it was built up. And this one is the Sami pen, and this is the Lauren Epsom, which is an interesting pen in its own right. I really kind of like the texture that's on the section of this particular pen. But that's what it looks like in comparison to some other 3D printed pens. Oh, one more 3D printed pen. This was the Mars Rover from Artcraft. Let's get that in focus there. And then a couple of non-3D printed pens. We had a Lamy Vista, and then a pen that I haven't pulled out in quite some time, but this is a TWSBI VAC Mini. In regard to uncapped comparisons, here it is with that Lamy Vista. And then this was that Hex Pens DNA Lucent. And then here it is with that Opus 88 that I showed earlier. Okay, here we go with the writing sample for the Arclayer. And this is the Maze. And this is a medium stainless steel nib. I didn't mention this before, but these nibs are going to be available in extra fine, fine, medium, broad, as well as an architect nib. And the ink, as I showed you earlier, is Endless. And that's the Alchemy Candy C. This is what the ink looks like. It's a nice vibrant blue with a darker, almost purple sheen to it. And then this is what it looks like with Diamine Bloody Brexit, which is a little bit darker in regard to the backing color. Same with the Krishna Pakaza, which is another color I really like. That's very similar to the Bloody Brexit, but the backing blue is a little bit darker than the Candy C. The Alchemy inks are really nice, and so no matter which one of the 12 that you choose from, I'm sure you'll be pleased with it. And here we go with the rest of the writing sample. I find that this medium Yovo nib is very pleasant. It has a bit of feedback to it. You're not going to get a lot of line variation out of this. But I find the ink flow on this medium nib to be generous. And in regard to reverse writing, it's a little scratchy and a bit hit and miss. But in regard to some fast writing, the feed keeps up well. Okay, a little information about this Kickstarter project. The least expensive early bird pricing for all of these models is about $79 for the standard version, which is an excellent price for a pen on top of receiving a bottle of ink. And then it's going to be about $89 for the Japanese eyedropper model. And as I mentioned, both comes with those free bottles of ink. Another fantastic thing about this Kickstarter is that they're looking to have a quick turnaround for this project. I've been told their goal is to begin delivery in the 2nd or 3rd week of February, so the wait potentially is only about 2 months, which is fantastic when it comes to a Kickstarter campaign. I will go ahead and have a link in the notes below where you can check out their Kickstarter campaign, which is open right now. For the price of this pen, for $79, to get something that is decent quality, that looks really cool, is unique, and then on top of that, you get a free bottle of ink, the price is pretty hard to beat on that. So I hope that this campaign goes well for them, and that they're able to introduce other models down the line, because I think that this is a quality pen that more people should enjoy. So until next time, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later.